Since we've been learning about geometry in the classroom, I decided to actually provide students with the opportunity to create a project that if we were in school, we would be creating there. I've adapted it in ways that they can complete it at home. I want to walk you through what's necessary to complete the project by reviewing the instructions of the project. I'm going to do that step by step for you so we can avoid any kind of confusion. Something else to clarify, once again, this is not an assignment that needs to be due by a particular time. It is something that I want students to have fun with, that continues that learning process of geometry that we left off with last week in school. So to take you through our instructions here, I've carefully have the students read the directions before beginning to start the project. This will be your end result. I don't have any crayons, color pencils, or markers with me here at home. So if I did, it would be very colorful. So if students have that at home, please, when you are done this portion of the project, which I will explain in a bit, feel free to color, make it beautiful, attractive, because there will be an option for you to upload your image on Schoology, and I'll walk you through that as well. So continuing with the directions, I'd advise students to make a rough draft of what their map might look like. This is just an example map. This is not the final product for every student. This is just my final product based on the instructions and the guidelines for the project. But what students are going to be required to do is draw 3 parallel roads. So I'm starting right here on the directions. What students will need to begin creating or thinking of is 3 parallel roads, which they will name and measure to the nearest half of inch apart. Now, if we don't have a ruler, I'm perfectly fine with that. However, it does need to be neat, only because we want this to be our final product where we have some neat lines and it connects back to our geometry, which we know in class we've been talking about parallel. And students should have an understanding that those are lines that are next to each other where they do not meet. So here I have my 3 parallel roads in which I've named Mercuria Road, Francisco Road, and Byrne Boulevard. Next, they will need to draw 2 roads that are each perpendicular. Perpendicular, I told students that this is kind of that T shape, that lowercase t shape where the corners have 90 degrees in measurement. Here I have my perpendicular road. They will need to name those roads as well. As you can see, my 90-degree angles in each corner. Something else that it says on the directions is that to at least have one of the 3 parallel lines connected to that perpendicular road. And that's what I've done here. I've connected one of that perpendicular line road into one of the parallel roads. So you can see Craney Street is connected to Mercuria Road. Seaford Road is the other perpendicular line road that's not really connected to anything, but we do have a perpendicular road. Not to be confused with the next part, which says that they need to have 2 intersecting roads on their map. These will be my 2 intersecting roads. Intersecting roads are not perpendicular because they don't have those corners that are 90 degrees. So something else that it says, these roads intersect but are not perpendicular. I've decided to connect my intersecting road to my perpendicular road, which is perfectly fine to do. But as you can see, I have like a clear X and I have a clear T with my parallel roads. So those are the directions for the roads. The next thing after students create their roads is in the upper right corner, they will need to create a park for their town. This park must follow the following criteria. The park size must measure 64 square centimeters in total. In doing so, you just have to measure your length and your width. So if I had a ruler, and once again, if we don't have a ruler in the household, it's totally fine. Just kind of measure it to the point where we're going to be needing to fit some things inside of this box. So here I have my box, which is right here. Once I was done creating the whole map, I did a little fences and design, but this is my box right here. And you can see that it's pretty big on my map. It's one of the main places, but I measured the map on the centimeter side, 8 by 8, so that it could be 64 square centimeters. It doesn't have to be 8 by 8, but it just needs to have a total of 64 square centimeters. Inside the park, you're also required to draw a sandbox that is 7/8 by 7/8 of an inch. That's your length and your width. And here you can see my sandbox. And you will also need to draw a rectangular swimming pool that has a perimeter of 6 inches. Swimming pool is right here, and the perimeter you're adding all your sides up. So you can see that on this side I have 2 inches, and the same measurement should be above, and that's 2 inches. On the other sides that are parallel to one another, they're measured at 1 inch. So I will need to add 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1, and that will equal a total perimeter of 6 inches. Continuing with the park, you will need to draw an octagon. I recommend using a ruler, but once again, this is more geared to when we're in the classroom and those materials are available to students. So if they can just make sure that it's a pretty nice octagon. Octagon has 8 sides, and you can see my octagon here. And then finally in the park, you're going to draw a right scalene triangle that's supposed to be the picnic area with a height of 2 inches and a base of half inches. You can see here that I have my scalene triangle. I have the height is 2 inches, the other side is 2.5, and the base is 1/2 inch. Afterwards, students will need to draw or cut shapes for their buildings in their town, and these buildings should connect back to what we've been working on in class in geometry, such as those different kinds of triangles, different kinds of quadrilaterals, and other types of polygons. So you'll see on my map, I've labeled my buildings so that it's clear for me to see where I have them. To start off, I have an acute triangle right over here. I then have an obtuse triangle. And what's the difference between the two, you ask? One has angles measuring less than 90 degrees, and this has an angle measuring more than 90 degrees. An equilateral triangle is where all angles, or I'm sorry, not angles, all sides are the same. We have a rhombus on the list, and that's right here. A square, I've placed it here. A pentagon here. A parallelogram, trapezoid, hexagon, and a rectangle, which I've placed here. So those are the 10 buildings that I'm asking for students to place on their map. Once they've finished that, I would like for them to add 5 other items. These items could be slides, swings, picnic tables, trees, extra roads, people, plants, cars, trucks on the roadways, traffic or highway signs, a railroad or bus station, a river, a beach, ocean, etc. And if they could please kind of write down, or at least write on their map, what additional 5 items, the 5 items that I've added. And to be clear, you can draw it as many times as you want on the map, but it would only count once. For example, I have a stop sign, and you can see multiple stop signs on my road. So that's 1 additional item. I have trees, which you can see a bunch of trees next to those buildings. You know, it's all about curb appeal. On my map, that counts as 1. Even though I have it so many other times on my map, I'm only counting it as 1. I have a pond that I've added. That's 3. I have some cars and trucks on the roadway. That's 4. And then I have some houses that I lined up on my map. And those are my 5 additional items. Now, once again, just to clarify, if we don't have any crayons, markers, or colored pencils, that's okay. Take a picture of their image and upload it on Schoology. And just to show you that, if I go on my Schoology page, and my Schoology page, once again, looks a little different than theirs, there will be a folder that says GeoTown Project. If they click that folder, it's going to redirect them to the instructions, which is here. It's in a PDF form. And then this is the media folder that they can upload where it says add media. And we've done this before, so students should be aware of how to do this. When we did our math research, we would upload our images. But once they finish, take a picture of their image, and then they can upload it on the media. Overall, this is the final product of the GeoTown project. Something else to state is that students will need to create a town name. I've created mine and it's called Cardonia. I kept it kind of thematic in that my roads and streets are named after teachers. They do not have to do that, but it could be funny. It could be thematic as well. I've had students in the past do McDonald, land, and the names of their streets and buildings were named after items off of the food menu. Same with Harry Potter. So something that's just fun and creative for students to work on during this time, and that it connects back to stuff that we've been learning in the classroom. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to email me. I will be available to answer any of your questions.